everything ran like clockwork. Double stinting the tires just to make sure that we had enough to go at the end if we got to that point. But the tires performed the same regardless of the first part of the session to the end. So we were getting close to 3 hours on a set, and they were performing flawlessly. So we have no complaints in that department. The cool weather really helped out the tires a lot and allowed us to actually pick up the pace. And Mike and I are kind of known for running our fastest laps through the night. So we had a little internal competition going on that was a non-verbal thing that
got to make it fun somehow.
Yeah, he went out and set our fast lap in his first stint into the night. Then I went back and countered, and then he came back and countered me again. And then I couldn't pull it off in the last one.
By that he means our fastest laps were separated by 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, it's it's always fun for us to have that little internal competition. And Mike Warfield, our crew chief, he really enjoys it because every once in a while he'll see that lap pop up, and it brings some attention that we're on the move. So that makes it fun, and we joke about it at the end because he got me this year. I was fortunate enough to get him last year, but. We still have some fun there. But after my first full night stint, handed it back to Mike at that point for another double stint for him, which would essentially take us to about 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning before I got back in.
Yeah, at that point it was clockwork. We kept having I think I had once to come in and do the transmission reset, but the car was running pretty solid and consistent at that point, and Jordan and I just kept double stinting, and everything was going pretty well considering, after our hit, the car wasn't handling all that great. But, we just pushed through the night, came back in after my second double stint at about 3:30. No drama, nothing there. We just handed it over to Barry again and put him back in the car to drive it through sunup and into dawn and into the morning. And big thanks to Barry for always taking those super hard stints where the sun's directly in your face. He went through his first single stint relatively issue free. I think he had the transmission problem again one more time. At that point, we were getting really low on our front brake pads. We had made a rear brake pad change during my last night stint, and almost towards the end of Barry's double stint, he started reporting a vibration on the right front. Which is the tire that takes the most abuse around that track. So we brought it in to inspect it, and it turns out that we had sheared off a couple of the wheel studs. And because our brake pads were so low at that point, the way that wheel stud issue allowed the rotor to articulate in the wheel well allowed our brakes to push out past their maximum threshold, and we actually broke the seal on one of our brake pistons, lost a bunch of fluid. He lost the brakes, pedal went to the floor. We came in, we identified the issue, and we put the car back together, and at that point we had a long discussion on whether or not to continue at race pace or what to do. Now the problem with breaking the seal on a brake caliper piston is that it never really fully goes back to a confident seal. So at that point it was a safety issue. We had so many problems with the contact and bleeding the brakes and things like that we weren't in contention for anything spectacular. So we decided for safety reasons just to park the car and call it. There was no point in risking the car, risking ourselves as drivers, or risking anybody else out there on the racetrack with a brake failure. So we parked the car, and our plan was just to get it back out at the end of the race, run the last 15-20 minutes at an easy pace, and just take the checkered flag for ourselves, for our morale, for all of our partners, things like that, just to say that the car ran across the finish line in its own power. We could have easily run the rest of the race, I think, with that brake setup, but again, it was just too much of a risk to have the brakes fail at a racetrack like that when you're not fighting for an overall position or anything like that. So.
Yeah, and that's one of the toughest decisions for us to make. Not only as a team owner, but our crew chief. I mean, we really rely upon the expertise of everybody out there, and we listen to everybody. And our whole thing is that we don't want anybody to question anything on that car. And if somebody's not 100% confident, then we either need to address it, or unfortunately, we need to retire the car. And at that point, we had struggled quite a bit through that race. It wasn't major stuff. It just was constant with something, and that's what that race is notorious for. That race does not care who you are, how much money you have, how much you've prepared. You're going to experience something different each year, and it's just how you deal with it. And for the most part, I couldn't be more proud of how everybody dealt with stuff and the problems that were thrown at us. It just unfortunately took us a long time. The second hit that we had, that really we should have retired the car at that point. I mean, we had lost an hour worth of time to source that part, get it on, but we got it on, we tried it, it felt good. So nobody questioned it. Everybody was very confident about that repair. With the brakes, we just couldn't say 100% that we were confident that we were able to get that puck, that piston to reseal. So, it just wasn't worth the risk. At the end of the day, we've got to protect this car for our own well-being. We've got to protect our drivers, our crew, our partners, their investments. We want to make sure that this car can grow and run for the next couple of years and really get to where we think this car can be. So, at the end of the day, we made the decision. It's tough. Everybody feels a little bit of heartbreak there. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the way that race goes. So overall, it wasn't a complete disappointment. We had a lot of very small rewards based on some of the things we did on this car. We've proven the concept. We've proven that it can run. I've seen a lot of comments and stuff on different social media that we were off pace and all that stuff, and we absolutely were off pace. We experienced some things there that we didn't experience in testing, and those are things we're all going to fix. If
we're going to have problems, I'd rather have them all at once.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you when we come back next year, we won't have the same problems that we had this year. And then eventually you get to a problem-free car, and that's just how it works. Yep. When you build a car in such a short amount of time for North America's most grueling race, it's not an easy task. It's a big ask of anybody, especially a bunch of guys who don't do this full time, who don't have a full-time shop, who just work on this and build this car in our free time. And thanks to our partners for stepping up and helping us out tremendously. And
we were by far the most prepared this year than we have ever been before. We had plenty of tires from Achilles. We had suspension from BC. Mm-hmm. We had all of our spares from SPL. Hawk made sure we had brakes. I mean, the list goes on and on. Essex made sure that we had extra rotors and hats. And, I mean, everybody just stepped up to make sure that we were as prepared as we could be. Again, unfortunately, we saw things that we weren't necessarily prepared to deal with. They just were surprising when they happened. And that we were actually surprised that the car was off pace. We didn't prepare for that. Every other testing we've had has shown, that this car is capable of, 5+ seconds quicker than our old car without doing much work. And we just relied on that data until we got there, and then we realized that that's not the case. So, we going forward from this point on, as you guys can see, we're only a couple days back. The day after we got back, we immediately started tearing this car down. This is our second day working on it. Just like any other time, our goal is to make this car competitive. We're willing to do whatever it takes. We have some of the best partners in the business by far, and we're going to solve all the issues that we need to solve to get back out there and have a strong event next year. We can't say thank you enough to all of our partners, our crew, Warfield and his crew, Mike Warfield, our crew chief, for stepping up and bringing out his guys. All the guys from Texas that came out, that was incredible. We just want to keep moving forward with everybody and continuing to develop this car, because we saw that it can be competitive, not necessarily in our platform, but with the changes that we know we're going to make, we know it has the ability to be a top runner at that race. So we're willing to do what it takes to get it there, and that's what we're going to start working on now. So,
anyways, if you're still with us, thanks for watching this super long video. We'll get back next year. We'll look forward to a bunch more video updates like this, things like that. We're just sick of writing, and I know people are sick of reading, so we'll just do videos instead. So stay tuned. We'll be thrashing on this car sooner than later, and then we'll get back out there next year and prove what we know is right.
Yeah, thank you everybody for your support and following us, and we got a chance to meet a lot of people that have been following this build the whole time, and that was really cool. And if you guys ever see us out or even on social media, don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. We get a lot of people that say, "Oh, I didn't know if you'd respond," or I was nervous to reach out to you and ask you a question or whatever. Please, don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. We love talking about this car. We love talking about other cars, any of our experience. Whatever we can help you with or be a part of, we'd love to do it. So, we're getting ready to leave here in a couple hours to go out to PRI for a couple of days. So we'll see some faces out there. But if you ever see us around at a track, local track, whether we have the car or not, please don't ever hesitate to come say hi. And thanks for watching this. Like I said, we just wanted to bring you something different, something new. We're going to be doing a lot more of these in the future, just to kind of keep you guys updated. And hopefully you guys like them. Hopefully you guys watch them, and we'll see you around.